It's connected. It's something that all of us have, most of us have. It's it's connected to that. Scam calls, yes. By far the number one complaint. So one of the biggest divisions that folks know about at the Attorney General's office would be called the Consumer Protection Division. That's the one that you call if you have a problem with these scammers, or if you've been scammed by somebody like a contractor or something else, you're trying to recoup whatever it is. If somebody sent you to your bank and you then withdrew a whole bunch of money and you bought a bunch of gift cards and you sent them out of the state and you're like, oh, what have I done? The Attorney General will be the one there. You also deal with big companies that are scamming folks too. Price gouging, for example. We have that right now with Dollar General in a lot of rural areas of Missouri, but really all throughout the country, where you go in, you buy something, it says the price is $2, you get up to the cash register, they ring you out, you go home, you look at your receipt, and they actually charge you $5 for what was supposed to be $2, right? We've had other places do it. Walgreens did this for a little while. But the Attorney General is the one who's involved in really regulating what a lot of these companies are doing to make sure that they're not screwing people over. Another big division over there used to be the Environmental and Agricultural Division. That would, just do some minor things like protecting our drinking water and our air. We used to have that division for a while, and now we don't have that division anymore. So I was working at the office when Chris Koster was the Attorney General. He then ran for governor against this guy who beat him, and he was governor for about 2 minutes. His name was Eric Greitens. I don't know if you remember that guy. Wasn't too great, so he resigned. But Chris Koster was there. After Chris, we got Josh Hawley. And then Josh Hawley decided he wanted to be a U.S. Senator very, very quickly, so he didn't really do very much. He just ran for Senate right after. And then Eric Schmidt was, right? Hopefully not much longer. And then Eric Schmidt was appointed, and then he served for a little while after that. Now he's a senator, and the current guy that we have there is Andrew Bailey. When Josh Hawley got in, he got rid of the Environmental and Agricultural Division. And now, I don't know if you all have seen this, but he's been up in North County, St. Charles, Weldon Springs area talking about the radioactive waste over there. And he's the one who got rid of the division that's supposed to go after the folks from the radioactive waste over there. It's tough. Yeah, it's really tough to deal with. Well, so he right now, and so it's kind of hard because I have to work with his office a little bit, but now that we're on recorded, what am I going to do? But yeah, he's been working on this bill. It's called RECA. And RECA provides compensation for victims of radioactive poisoning. And right now, the people in the St. Louis area are not included. There's also a group of folks in New Mexico who are not included as part of the Manhattan Project and testing and everything else. So there's actually a group of moms up there and some other community members I've been working with for years to get public records and all of this too. And they have been to D.C. so many times now advocating for expanding RECA. And unfortunately, we have a Speaker of the House right now named Mike Johnson who is not interested in expanding it, along with some other folks. So that's actually going to be a really big advocacy point for folks in St. Louis, in D.C. So I would definitely watch that this upcoming congressional session because that's something that could really benefit a lot of people. Unfortunately now, and there's more and more of these studies that are coming out, we have cancer clusters all throughout North County. And you've got the creek. You've got Coldwater Creek right now. Some good news for those who are. So we had Westlake Landfill. There's a bunch of problems there too. They are very close to an agreement on actually capping that whole thing, which is great. For Coldwater Creek, they are not so close on. And that's the one, unfortunately, if you've got flooding or anything else, all that stuff is going everywhere. And we don't have an attorney general who's doing anything about it. It's actually mind-boggling. I cannot believe. I mean, I've been to all of these meetings. He sent an attorney to go one time. 1 week later, she quit the office, and he's never sent anybody back there. He's done absolutely nothing about it. And I sat next to him. I've had a couple town halls, only one he's shown up to. And I was sitting next to him, and one of his answers to some question was, he wakes up every day. I wake up every day, and the first thing I think is, how can I sue Joe Biden? I'm like, well, there's some other things to think about too, maybe your family, I don't know, something. But how can I sue Joe Biden? And the one time that we actually need someone to sue the federal government for actually hurting the families here in the state of Missouri, he is nowhere to be seen. I guess he thinks it won't get him on TV. He has turned that office into a TV studio. It's supposed to be a law firm that represents, I know, I'm mad about it too. I'm really mad about it. I mean, we did such great work there. And there's a couple reasons why it's not doing so much. One is the leadership there. His priorities are all kind of screwed up. Two, when I worked there, we had 200 attorneys working for the state of Missouri. And on my first day as an assistant attorney general, I was taken across the street. I got sworn in a small little room, and I got a cupcake with a candle. I don't know why there was a candle in it. I still don't know why. And then they took me to my office, and there was the legal, secretary, and she came in. Everybody was really happy. And she came in, she dropped a bunch of files on my desk. And then she left, and she did it again. And then she left, and she did it again. And I said, wow, well, what are all those? And she said, those are your cases. And I said, well, it looks like I have quite a few. She said, this isn't even part of it. You have 1,300 cases all to yourself. Welcome to the state of Missouri. So to think now, when I worked there, we had 200 attorneys. Now we have about 100 because no one wants to work there anymore. So now you start with 2,600? I mean, what are we doing? So you call in now, and you are lucky if you can get somebody on the phone. You are lucky if you're going to get somebody to deal with your scam issue. I mean, we had a case the other day where somebody was screwed by these solar companies. They're in bankruptcy and everything else, but there was still the state law case going on. And he didn't send anybody from the office. Nobody showed up. So the judge dismissed the case. That's not how the office is supposed to be run. It's not. And unfortunately, there are a lot of folks who just don't know what that office does at all. And so one of the big things that we have to do is educate people about what we can do. A lot of folks are getting very used to mediocre government in Missouri, but we can do so much better. And when people see good government, they want more of it. And that's what we have to do. So as Attorney General, I will bring back the Environmental and Agricultural Division. I want to bring it back as a conservation division here in the state of Missouri to do all of these things I just talked about. I want to start Missouri's first civil rights division in the history of our state, fully staffed one. And it's not just, only blue states have this or so. Oklahoma has a civil rights division. Most states have one of these. We do not have one right now, which is a big problem because that combats discrimination in so many places. It protects workers on the job. It does so much to make sure, for example, we're not keeping innocent people in prison, which is something else that our current Attorney General is spending our money doing. There have been people who've been in prison for 30 plus years who a judge said they should be released because we screwed up, they're innocent, and our Attorney General is spending our money to keep those people behind bars. Judges have had to threaten him with contempt of court because he wouldn't release. He would call prison wardens and say, ignore what the court is saying, keep them in there anyway. It's hard to fathom. I can understand some stuff, right? Some stuff he's doing that's all political, like suing the state of New York. Even the Supreme Court said, wow, that's really stupid. Why did you do that? But yeah, okay. So some of this, it's like, all right, you want to get on Fox News tonight. Maybe Tucker Carlson will pick, I don't know. But this to me is like so many other things where he doesn't care about what the law says. He doesn't care about what his responsibilities are. He just cares about power and exercising it. And I mean, you think about right now, the power to take someone's freedom away from them. I mean, there's not really much more to do than that. And so for him, I mean, his argument is, it's finality. Yeah. I mean, that's exactly, I mean, with this recent guy right now. Right? Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, that one he's been fighting. And I mean, you had the prosecutor in court who said, yeah, somebody actually they screwed up the DNA evidence on this one. So yeah, that is our current Attorney General right now. And it's a big problem. So I think that there's a lot of changes we need to make in that office. We obviously need to have a new Attorney General. The most recent stuff right now, I'm sure we talked about this a little bit too, is the amendment to put reproductive freedom into the state constitution. That is in flux right now. So there's a lot of things that are happening. It's being challenged in court. We will know by September 10th what the result is, whether it's going to be on the ballot or not. I think it will be. I'm happy to answer questions about why, but just I have not slept very much in the last couple of days, and I've been doing a lot of research on it, but it sure seems like it should remain on there.
We can do about that?
No, pray, yeah, no, yeah, right, yeah. So they've got a very good attorney who's working on it now. They just brought him in, and the issue was, did the ballot initiative is an amendment to the state constitution, right? So the other version that you could have done, but thank goodness they didn't, would be a proposition, which is just a proposed law. And a proposed law is something the legislature can change immediately. Puppy mills was an example of that. We passed that over 10 years ago as a proposition. People voted. We said yes. So it went to the legislature, and of course they changed it immediately because they had the power to do that. They don't have the power to change an amendment unless it goes back to a vote of the people. So in this amendment, there's a statute which is lower than right? You have the Constitution and the laws are underneath the Constitution. The statute says you have to include any parts of whatever you're changing when you have an amendment to the Constitution. And they're saying this one did not include that, but I think it did. So we'll see.
Isn't the wording of it, that's where I'm confused.
Yeah.
Held it up for so long.
Yeah. So there's been multiple different lawsuits on this. So the first one, there was a whole campaign to hold up signature gathering, right? So when it was first proposed, the Attorney General, Andrew Bailey, he said the first thing that came through was a lawsuit about how much money it was going to cost the people of Missouri. So the auditor has to say, okay, I'm looking at this ballot initiative, and I think this is my cost estimate. That goes to the Attorney General. He's just supposed to stamp it as long as it meets the form requirements, and then that goes through. The auditor said, I don't think it's going to cost any money. Duh. And then the Attorney General said, well, I think it's going to cost us lots of money. I think it's going to cost us billions of dollars in lost taxpayer revenue from aborted people.
Oh my God.
Yeah, correct. So he said, I want you to change your thing. And the auditor said, I will take your, input into consideration. Comes back and says, no, it's not going to cost us anything. So the Attorney General said, well, I'm not going to certify it then, which he doesn't have the ability to do. So they missed the deadline, and now they're in court because they're being sued. We all get to pay for this, by the way. So we're all being sued. The auditor comes to the Secretary of State's in court, and he said, Judge, I did everything I was supposed to. And the judge said, yeah. The auditor said, Judge, I don't even agree with this crazy guy. Why am I here? The judge said, yeah. And then the Attorney General said, well, I can do whatever I want. And the judge said, no, you cannot. So that one kept getting appealed, so they delayed it even further. By the time it came back, we lost months and months of time to collect signatures, to the point where they thought we might not do this at all. And they did. And they put it out there. We helped collect a lot of those signatures. I did personally, and a lot of volunteers did. 380,000.
How many was required?
170 something, yeah, 173, I think, yeah. Yeah, 380,000. So, yeah, that was the first lawsuit. There was another one about language early on. That one, they lost too, so then it went forward. And then there was Jay Ashcroft's summary of what it's going to say. So there's two types. We're going to really get there. Two types of summaries. There's the one that you see on your ballot when you go into the polling place, and that's the box you check. That's not the whole thing, right? Although this one's pretty short. You can read the whole thing. There's the summary. There's another summary that appears on his website, and it will appear like on the doors of the polling place and all of that. Those are two different things. So the ballot summary, the one on the ballot, that one got challenged. It had to get rewritten multiple times because our Attorney General and Secretary of State wanted it to be as deceptive as possible. And the Court of Appeals said, we're rewriting it. This is what you have to use. So it got rewritten to be what it is today. That was that one. His website never changed. He never changed the other one. So then he got sued again for that one. And that language just got changed the other day by a different judge in Cole County. So there's all these. That's why it's confusing. There's so many lawsuits that are going on at the same time. And this process isn't supposed to be confusing. The process is supposed to be pretty simple. If the people of Missouri want to collect enough signatures to put something on the ballot, that is your right. You have a constitutional right to do that. And unfortunately, our Attorney General doesn't agree because he doesn't agree with the issues that we want to put on the ballot. Then it's great. Yeah. When he likes what we have to say, wonderful. I mean, this is a guy who at the one town hall he showed up to, he went up and he changed all the rules. He said, 1, I don't want anybody criticizing each other, otherwise I'm not participating. Of course you don't, because you suck at your job. And then 2, I don't want anybody asking me questions on an open microphone. Like, what are you doing? I thought you were our attorney. We can't talk to you anymore? Like, what is this? Yeah, this guy, he's you know, and now we've got a town hall that's set for the League of Women Voters is putting on, and we've got a libertarian who's running too, who I've never seen anywhere, but, you know, welcome. I guess I'll see him in a couple weeks. And of course, where's Andrew Bailey? Oh, he hasn't responded yet. He's ghosting every single one of these because he doesn't want to answer questions from the people of Missouri because his record is really, really bad. I mean, this is one of the most beyond incompetent, one of the most corrupt attorneys general we've ever had. He's taken money from illegal gambling machine companies that have sued the state that he was supposed to defend us against. And he said, I like their money better than working for you. In Jackson County the other day, he just violated a whole bunch of ethics rules because he was talking to clients of the other side. He was suing Jackson County for their property assessment. I don't know if you all followed, but they just shot up tax values by a large amount. I actually agreed with his lawsuit. I thought, okay, this is something you probably need to do. And of course, he's in the middle of trial, and he had an assistant attorney general talk to the client of the opposing party, which you're not allowed to do as an attorney. You can't talk to the other client. It's one of our big ethics rules. So that assistant attorney general, who's like recorded doing it, he gets sanctioned by the court. And then someone said, well, the attorney general had a meeting with this guy too. So they said, yeah, the judge said, you know what? That's right. We need to take you need to sit for a sworn deposition to see if that's what you did, to see if I have to sanction you or not. And Attorney General Bailey said, no, I don't want to do that. And the judge said, too bad. So he appealed, and the appellate court said, yeah, too bad. You have to sit for a deposition. So he's sitting the night before his deposition. He moves to dismiss the case. And the judge said, okay, I'm dismissing it with prejudice, which means you can never bring it again. So he blew the whole case because he didn't want to sit for a deposition because he violated Missouri's ethics rules. I mean, he's a bad guy. So, yeah, we need to replace him. Now, to do that, it's going to take a whole lot of work because some of you have already, mentioned we're in a kind of a red state right now. There's a lot of Republicans who are elected a whole bunch of places. There was a time where Democrats were elected to everything. And there was a young guy who was running for attorney general who said that the current attorney general was not good at his job, was very corrupt, and they needed to reform it. That guy's name was Jack Danforth. Jack Danforth became attorney general of Missouri. He was the only Republican elected that year. So this has happened in Missouri before. I mean, Jack has done some things since then, but he was a good attorney general. So we can definitely get back to doing that. But
what do you think has happened in Missouri? As far as I moved
yeah.
here 35, almost 40 years ago.
Yeah.
And when I moved here, you had Democratic governors,
yes.
You had Republican governors, you had Democratic senators, you had statewide, you had a balance.
Yeah.
Now there's no balance at all. What has changed?
Yeah, I think there's a lot has changed. So structurally, the Democratic Party has not been very good in the state of Missouri. So we have ceded a whole lot of territory. I mean, I was in Montgomery City the other day. I don't know if you all know where that is. It's on the way. Yeah, it's on 70. And and I was there, and they at the library for the county, Montgomery County Central Committee for the Democrats, for a long time. This was like legendary. There would be one person who showed up for that meeting for years and years, would be at the library. One person would show up, they'd do all the minutes, and then they'd go home. Nobody else would ever come. I was there. They had 30-something people in the room. And there was a lady who was sitting there, and she said, oh, I remember when we used to get to see politicians come here, and we were really excited for them. We'd go out and volunteer. This reminds me of, it started going through this whole litany of people. That hasn't happened for a long time. In a lot of places, they've been entirely ignored. So the infrastructure is non-existent. There are Democrats there, but nobody's really doing any organizing whatsoever. So the weakening of the party overall has been a really, really big problem here in Missouri. And while you've had that, you've had the Republicans who've been investing in local races. So school boards, state representative, all of these things, right? And so they've been winning a whole lot. There was a time where they kind of retooled their strategy to try to get Democrats fighting each other. And it worked. It worked very well to the point now where there's no balance whatsoever in government. I mean, you have areas that were very, very blue, Jefferson County, the boot heel. I mean, they're not there anymore. I think on top of that, you've got Donald Trump, who I mean, you got him a lot. He's pretty popular in the state of Missouri, and I mean, the thing is, like, he's out there saying, oh, I know that everything's corrupt. Everything's corrupt because I'm corrupt, and I know they're corrupt too because I'm corrupt with them. And they're like, yeah, I like that. That's true. He says it just like it is. I mean, well, you know, there's a lot of, I think that we're read in a way where we're more pissed off than anything else. And folks are kind of like, well, you know, I don't like this. And I have been to, I mean, we get invited to a lot of Trump events because of her, by the way. And I have sat there, and I hear these folks, they're arguing in their primary against this guy and that guy. And what are they saying? They're saying the system is corrupt, it's rigged against you, and we need to fix that. And that's like the big underlying thing. So if there are no Democrats running, you're going to vote for a Republican, and now you're a Republican because nobody's ever running. It's an unopposed state in so many ways. So, yeah,
Isn't that true of a lot of even Senate, House positions? They weren't.
Yeah.
Nobody was running against them.
Nobody was running, and heck, I mean, you've got primaries where even right now, when you do have folks running, they're like, well, my real choice is going to be in the Republican primary for sheriff or whatever it is. We had local offices. Heck, there's still some local folks who are Democrats. There are some who don't say it because it's a nonpartisan position, so why even go there? But yeah, that's it's been a big issue. This year, though, we do have a lot more people running for state representative, which I think is the core kind of organizing for state government. That's why we work with a lot of state representative candidates on going door to door and talking to folks and doing all of that. So our campaign has been really focused on trying to rebuild a lot of that infrastructure, and we put our fundraise, like all of the money that we had, we put into organizing the state. So we've got Beth. Beth is here somewhere. I don't know where she went. Oh, hi. Oh, hi. Oh, thank you. Yeah. So Beth is one of our St. Louis organizers. We have multiple here in St. Louis. We have multiple on the Kansas City side. We have one in Springfield, one in Central Missouri, one in the Boot Heel, who's helping organize a lot of the rest of rural Missouri. We have close to 3,000 volunteers in the campaign. And we have, by far, I mean, this is a race for attorney general. It's not governor. It's not Senate. It's not president. We have the most voter contacts out of any statewide campaign, including the initiative petitions at this point right now, by hundreds of thousands of people. So that's our theory of the case is that we need to create lasting change, not just, oh, let's win the attorney general's office. I think we really need to do that, and that would be very helpful in creating lasting change, but it has to be more than that. We have to bring more of Missouri with us. And
Young people.
yeah,
See, that's my thing.
yeah, I agree with you.
I'm old, and I want to be retired.
Yeah.
And I'm done doing marches. I did that. So you young people need to get a
Yeah.
government that works for you.
Yeah, yes.
My daughters are in their 20s, and
Yeah.
you need. I'm done.
Yeah,
I don't
we
do this anymore.
good news is, so on this, we have a lot of young people. Yeah, you got, first of all, yes. So it will make you happy. We've got a lot of young folks on the campaign. And so we've got actually a new intern who just joined up, and all of our internships are paid, which is great. But this is a kid who's focused on youth recruitment, volunteer outreach, which means I have to dance on TikTok, which is I don't want to do at all. I'm very upset about this. I know, yeah, I know. Me too. Yeah, so, but our campaign manager, he's gotten to meet the next president of the United States, Kamala Harris. But he turned 21 on this campaign. Whiz kid, super whiz kid's gotten all these awards. But like we want to put people in positions to do that, to have real leadership. In so many places when I go around and I'm like, hey, they ask, how can we get more young people involved? My answer is always give them actual responsibility, let them do something. And in places where they've seen a lot of young people start to get involved, would you believe it or not? But if it's got to be worthwhile, right? You've got to have some like real responsibility in that. So yeah, every once in a while, you'll have a kid who's having, they did something stupid, whatever, it's fine. But that's part of growing through this, and I don't think there's anything wrong with doing that. So.
Well, I have another old people scenario. I'm not that old, but protect families from the environmental issues.
Yeah,
How would you frame that? Like,
well, so I'll tell you what. It's I didn't expect this to be the answer, but the answer is that little dog.
okay.
The puppy mill thing,
Yeah.
wild. So I got this call. I told some of you this. I got this call from it's this place called Trump headquarters in Warsaw, Missouri, and they wanted me to come. And I said, "Did you get the wrong number? Like, why do you want me to come?" And for me, it's like, "Yeah." And I said, "Why?" And they said, "We like your little dog, and some of the things that you have to say. Would you present to us?" So I went, and I went over with the dog, of course, and I was there, and there was this whole circle of people around me because I was the only statewide candidate who bothered to show up. So I was there, and I had this dog, and they all started coming, and we started talking about issues. First, I found the number one controversy on the campaign is what kind of dog is that? Because we got her from the pound. She's a puppy mill rescue, and they said that she's a Shih Tzu, and they said that is not a Shih Tzu. I don't know anything about little dogs. The smallest dog I had before that was 78 pounds, so I didn't know. And so they all had this thing. And then after we got past that point, we all started sitting around, and there was a lady there, big Trump fan, like everybody else there, who does puppy mill rescue work all over the country. The whole network, they go undercover, they bust these people, and they send them out. And very interesting. We start, the issues that we talked about are the same ones on the front of that, and they're actually on my truck right now. So on the back of the truck, it says, "End puppy mills, vote Elad." On the side, it says, "Crush corruption," which is a big one. And because I want to start the first public corruption unit in Missouri, too. Make sure taxpayer money goes where it's supposed to. And a lot of the folks who are in this, wherever, you're Democrat or yeah, I don't want them wasting my money. Absolutely. And then the other side of the truck says, "Sue scammers." Right? We all agree. But I didn't know we were going to agree on even more. The Civil Rights Division. Yeah, we want one of those. Protect our water. Yeah, absolutely. So it was just like, we were sitting. And then finally, this guy over here, he said, "This all sounds wonderful. Just tell me one thing. Tell me you are not a rhino, a Republican in name only." I said, "That would be impossible, sir, because I'm a Democrat." And he's like, he starts laughing. And then he said, "Wait, really?" I said, "Yes." And then this lady right next to him starts yelling. And she says, "No, you're a Democrat?" I said, "Yeah, did you all not know this before? Like, what's the deal?" She said, Can you please consider running as a Republican?" I said, "How about this? How about you just switch to being a Democrat and we'll call it even?" So she laughed. She hung around, and we kept talking about issues and all of this stuff. And at the end, those two folks who were right there next to me when they left, they made a point to come up to me, and they said, "We hope you win. You've got our vote." Great. The people who own Trump headquarters, which is like, the store with everything's Trump. It used to be a Central Dairy, which it still is. They give her free ice cream all the time. I've seen them multiple times now. I saw them at a Josh Hawley rally in Sedalia. And I was like, "Oh, hey, how are you all doing?" And they said, "Oh, we're doing great." And she said, "You really made a big impression when you came to town with that little dog." So I think puppy mills, we were at another one where it was actually, it was debate night with Joe Biden and Donald Trump. And we got invited to this, it turned into a Trump rally. But it was a conservative news talk show in Ashland, Missouri, and they invited us to come. So we came, and we had the dog, and we had the big banner that says "End Puppy Mills," and we had these dog bandanas, and we had free beer, too. I mean, I won't lie to you. And so people started coming up, and God, I just hate those damn puppy mills. And I think, like, that is such if we're leading with her, all of a sudden it's like, "Oh, yeah, well, you've humanized yourself," right? How can you be mad at that thing, So I think that's been a very helpful way of whatever party, whatever, if you're disengaged from politics, there's a lot of folks who, because it has so much more, right? It means that, you care about what we voted on, too. You want to protect what people actually believe here in the state, and a lot of people like their dogs. I don't know. So, yeah, I'd say the dog thing. I'd say corruption is a really big issue, too, just in Missouri. Folks want someone who's going to stand up for them. and just stop wasting our money. I mean, people, geez. But the phone scammers, there's a reason why it's the #1 complaint that comes to the attorney. Everybody's dealing with that. Yeah, yeah. Yes?
I came in when you were talking about price gouging.
Yeah.
What are you going to do about digital pricing that's coming to the grocery store? Because that's, to me, is an easy way for stores
To manipulate.
rip you off.
Yes.
Because you'll show up at a
Yeah.
item and that digital price says this, but by the time you get to the register,
Yeah.
the price could have changed.
Yeah.
Which means it has already changed in that register.
Yeah.
You're now paying for something different.
Yeah. Oh, we're not going to let that happen. Yeah. So so the responsibility is when you are selling somebody something, they should know what they're going to pay. And if the answer is they don't know because you set up a system like that, we will absolutely sue those people. No question whatsoever. Yeah, but they have to know. I mean, if it says, oh, we're having dynamic pricing, and you get up to the counter and then they have this whole thing and it's like, oh, your items have changed in price since whenever, they're disclosing that to you at least. But if they have nothing, and Dollar General, for example, they had nothing, right? They would just increase it on you.
The whole purpose behind that is grocery stores have learned when the crowd of people come in.
Yes, right.
So what they do is they wait for that time.
Yeah.
The busiest time.
The surge pricing stuff we see. Yeah,
pricing changes.
right.
So just
Right.
be aware that's what digital pricing
Yeah.
is all about.
And too, I think people don't look at their receipts.
That's what's happening. Yes, correct.
I don't.
Yeah. Well,
You can challenge it right there at the register.
right, right.
I do watch.
Yeah.
I know what it said on the shelf, and if you're charging me something different,
Right.
I make them go and get it
Right.
verified and change it.
Right.
So sometimes,
$150 worth of groceries,
well, I know, but
that adds
you
up.
know about the big things.
Yeah, but
Right.
The thing about digital pricing, you can go back to that.
And it might be different. Yeah.
different.
Right.
That's
Yeah. Well, now they have. Yeah. Well, now I mean, some of them they have the checkouts where you just walk out. And so what if it changed between when you picked it up and you walked and no one even told you anything? So yeah.
got that.
Right. So there's a lot of developing stuff in consumer protection. That's probably the hottest spot for that office in terms of development. And I mean, we haven't even talked about AI scams. I mean, they can steal voices of people with just 2 to 3 seconds of a clip. Yeah.
Yeah, they're doing that. I work at the Kirkwood Public Library,
Yeah.
and they're having people call us, and then they would lead you to say certain things, and they're recording your voice,
Uh-huh.
and then they use that.
Yeah. If you so one thing I want to start is the Missouri Attorney General app, as long as that acronym isn't taken by a former president already. But that app you could have it on your phone. Some people won't want it. That's fine. You can do it on the website too or by email. But you can streamline complaints against scammers, send the evidence immediately to the office, especially since most of these are a pattern. So that way we can try to track down where these folks are. But I think the most important part of that is really the warnings beforehand so that hey, I've got to be really careful in answering these things because I don't want to give them more information I don't want to give them any information at all. So it'd be more tutorials about how to deal with scams as they're happening, what's developing, what's happening in your area. Some of them, they spoof a lot of these, which shouldn't be happening. Like that's a big telecom lawsuit waiting. It should have already happened. But they shouldn't be allowing folks to just spoof numbers to the point that they can spoof courthouses. You get a phone call, someone saying that, I'm locked up. I really need you to bail me out. And it sounds like your daughter. So, there's a lot of these things that we can certainly combat, but a lot of people don't know this. Missouri started the no-call list. We started the do not call list here in this. We had the first one, and goodness gracious, you wouldn't know it today. Jay Nixon. Yeah. There's a state senator.
When you say you're going to do this and you're going to do that and you're going to start this and
Yeah.
that takes money to have people doing. How are you going to do that?
It's a great question. Yeah, how do you do that? So the Attorney General, well, you sue them and you get the money, right? Yeah, which is true, actually. So an environmental division brings money to the state. A consumer protection division brings money to the state because they're suing other companies for money. There's penalties that they have to pay to the state of Missouri. So it's actually earning money for the state of Missouri. When we don't.
About suing by winning.
Well, a lot of it is. Yeah. ideally you deal with these issues before you have to sue, and you say you can't do this, don't do this. But some of these places they're going to do it anyway. Dollar General, or a lot of these companies, I'm beating up on Dollar, they deserve it, but they figure, oh well, if somebody finally looks at their receipt and complains, we'll have to pay a small fine, no big deal. If a whole state sues you, now you've got to settle with the state. Johnson & Johnson for the talcum powder stuff, right? Yeah. Did you know Missouri wasn't part of that? We were one of like 5 states that didn't join in that lawsuit. That's a consumer. Millions of dollars is going to all of these states, and we're not getting any of it right now. Absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, so those divisions, when they're functional, they bring money to Missouri. But the other thing is, it's like, oh, do you need more money to do this? No, because the Attorney General has been allotted a budget. The governor gives him money and says, please spend this money. I've recommended this. He cannot run the office. So he has more money. He doesn't do anything with it. He's been given even a program to like work on reducing violence in neighborhoods. Does absolutely nothing with that. He's supposed to have an anti-human trafficking task force. Does nothing with that. He just doesn't do his job. He's just trying to get on TV. And so there's a budget that is bigger than what is being spent in that office right now. But we are spending a lot of money on legal fees and losing lawsuits. So that money is going out through a different budget because that's through the state revenues. So we are losing money because he is running that office so poorly. So but the Attorney General can restructure. It was very, like I said, there were different divisions there when I was there. So the Attorney General can pretty immediately change the structure of that office. Yeah, just said we don't want that anymore. Yep. So I think there's one guy who does environmental work at that office now. Yeah. So one guy for the whole state. Hopefully not. Yeah, hopefully not. That's
only for 2 more months.
That's exactly right. Yes. Yeah.
That's not inauguration day, I guess.
That's not. Yeah, I guess he gets a little bit longer, but yeah. But see, so what happens after you win is you get a transition period, and what's supposed to happen is you hire your transition team, you go in and you talk to all the folks who work there, and some good folks still work there, right? But you're supposed to talk to them, see where they are in all these projects, and then you move forward with it. So it's an easy transition. What actually happens is all these people quit. The ones at the top, the ones who actually work there and have been there for years and years and want to do the right thing, they stay. But that's when everybody starts to flee state employment at that point. I mean, a lot of them have to go. They're not doing anything. I don't know why we're paying them.
So who are you running up against? Is the current guy?
The current guy, his name is Andrew Bailey. Yeah, he's been appointed, so this is his first election that he's running for. Yeah. He's not the best, if you haven't picked up yet. Yeah. I mean, there's like some things, look, I'll agree on some things that he's done, but I mean, he'll put out, like one thing I really like that he's done is he highlights individual attorneys at that office who have done a good job on a case. I think that's great. I think you should do that. But then he'll go out and he'll tweet, oh yeah, we just solved a cold case rape or something from a long time ago, a 23-year one or something. But then he doesn't say, oh, by the way, my office is the one that's in charge of making sure the rape kits get tested, and I'm testing the least number of them in the last 4 years because I don't know how to do this. It's absolutely ridiculous. So it seems like, if you're just like, oh, I saw that one tweet, seems like he's doing a good job. If you take 2 more seconds to look, what is he doing? It's not very much. Yeah. Which is really upsetting because when he was appointed, he used to work at that office. Hawley never worked there. Schmidt never worked there. And I got interviewed while he was being appointed, and I said, well, at least he worked there. I think that's going to be a nice change. Little did I know he's going to be the worst one of the bunch. I had no idea. Like, how do you get worse than Josh Hawley? I don't understand. I still don't understand that. You have to really, really try. You have to really, really try. Oh, man, this guy, he's just, anyway.
So I have another little thing, and it's my house, so I can say it.
Wherever you want.
I watched the debate. He's had debates with the sharp guy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And then maybe once with Bailey.
Once he showed up one time, yeah.
I was watching one time, and one of the questions was, "Do you think that the 2020 election was rigged or whatever?"
It was stolen. Yeah. Yep.
It was, and blah blah blah, and then Bailey or whatever.
Yep.
He comes to Elad and he goes, "No, no, it wasn't." It's true.
Yeah. I had what you couldn't see on camera was Bailey was the first one up. Was the election stolen? Yes, it was absolutely stolen. He just started going off on some rant, right? And as he started, this tall guy, I'm surprised he didn't make it on the camera, but this tall guy stands up, and I know I have met him since, and he's like, this is ridiculous. I can't take this anymore. And he walks out of the room, and his wife was still there. It was just like, oh, God, what am I going to do? And I said no, and then there was this couple in the front, and it's like, no, what? What do you mean no? I said, I meant what I said. And Will leans over to me, and he said, I knew you were going to do that. And I looked at him, I said, well, I knew you were going to do that. So it was really easy for me. But yeah, these guys, man, yeah, absolutely nuts. Yeah, oh, God. So Will was actually his attorney. He said, I'm proud to be a Missourian here to represent Missourians, and, we need someone. And Jason Rosenbaum on St. Louis Public Radio was asking him these questions because Jason's not from here, so he takes these things very seriously. He's from Chicago, some Cubs fan or something, whatever. Anyway, so I know, terrible. So Jason was asking, he's like, well, I mean, he chose to live here. He's been here for over a decade. Don't you think that means, I mean, were you born here? And Bailey said, no. I'm like, wait, what? He wasn't? I had no idea. He's from Mississippi or something. Yeah. Yeah. No, I had no idea. Yeah.
Can I ask one final question? Does anyone have any other questions?
I was just going to ask one thing.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know anything about what's going on in the Missouri legislature, in the House of Representatives with the Republican Party?
Uh-huh.
Apparently there's a small group that's been filibustering and blocking any bills that they're trying to pass. And in this last legislative session, they've only passed 2 bills.
Yeah.
Which is the least amount since the Civil War.
Yeah. It's so those. I mean, they do have a contingency in the House, but in the House they have less ability to stop stuff. So a lot of it's actually happening in the Senate because there's fewer people, and their filibuster rules there, they can go as long as they keep talking. They can go. Which I mean, if we're gonna have a filibuster on the we should. That's how it should be. Get your diapers out or something. But yeah, that's what they've been doing. They're called. They call themselves the Freedom Caucus. Some people like to call them the Chaos Caucus. But yeah, we're at the point now. So there's a super majority of Republicans in the legislature, which we have a chance to break actually this election cycle. But the Republicans fight with themselves. So these are very extreme. Oh, no more taxes on anything. We shouldn't have schools anymore. That kind of normal stuff. And so they fight with Republicans, and so often now you'll see some of the, I don't want to say because they're not moderate, they're still extreme, but some of the Republicans will start to work with the Democrats in the Senate to move things, and that's why so few things have moved. Yeah, it's one of them ran for governor. He's like the ringleader, Bill Eigel. He had a lot of flamethrower stuff. St. Charles, yes. That guy. I had to sit next to him at some of these man. Whew. There are a lot of moments like that, but that dude, yeah. And he really he had a very strong volunteer base. A lot of folks were really out there for him because what he's tapping into is an extreme frustration with government. And so what he's saying is government sucks. Let's get rid of it. And people are like, yeah, let's get rid of it. And that's what, for decades, what have they done? They've defunded our public schools. So that way people are frustrated with public schools. And when somebody comes along and says, I have an idea, let's get rid of them. Yeah, let's get rid of them. That's what we should do. Or they did that with the healthcare system, all these other systems, right? And that is who they're doing that because their big donors get really wealthy when you start privatizing these systems. That's what they want. And Missouri, we were really well known for how great our public schools were all over the world. And wouldn't know that today either. And we had the first public kindergarten was right here. It was here in St. Louis. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
10 miles on a dirt road in a snowstorm.
Uphill though, yeah. Right. Oh yeah, please do that. So there's a sign-in sheet here. If you haven't gotten a chance to sign up, I know folks are like, oh my God, you're going to sign me up for an email? We don't send a lot.
Less than
Much.
I already get your emails, and they are well-timed.
Thank you.
Not overwhelming.
Thank you.
so.
Yeah, I send, actually, Joe Peerless does this too. He's running for state senate against one of these crazy people in the Senate. But yeah, we try to send, so I send like one newsletter type thing a week. A lot of pictures of her, obviously, because that's what the people want. So that's what they get. And then if you sign up to volunteer, you'll get some instructions. But yeah, usually it's like one, maybe two a week, but not two every minute. From the what?
Democrats got a lot of money now. Are you
Oh,
getting any of it?
from like the National Party? Yeah, that's not going to happen here. No. Mm-mm. No.
Because they say we don't have enough, but, what's the reasoning? Because we don't have enough
Democrats?
Democrats winning.
That makes
There has to be a certain
Yeah,
winning before
yeah.
they give us any money.
Well, we could win.
That was like the no.
You could just give the money
You could just do it. Yeah, you could just do it.
That's right.
Well, I was going to say, it sounds a lot like the No Child Left Behind thing, right? Your school really bad, so we're not going to give you any more money to fix it. Yeah, right. That's what we're going to do. Yeah, actually, what's crazy now, I never thought I was going to get to tell people this. We have more money right now than Andrew Bailey does. He's negative $25,000 in the bank because of this thing with Will Scharf. I mean, he can get as much money as he wants to, but it's just crazy that I can say that. It's just nuts that I can even say it. No, he's not doing anything. He's not doing it. So it's a huge opportunity, right? I mean, one of the reasons at that town hall, the one that he was answering right? It was just that lady who was asking those questions. One of the reasons he didn't want anybody going up to the mics was because he said this. We had more volunteers than him. And he was scared that our people were going to overwhelm him with questions. First of all, they're all Missourians, by the way, but whatever. But yeah, I mean, we have an actual operation around the state that's doing all of this contact right now. So there's a real opportunity here, probably not with all the money. We're not going to get a big influx. But with the people that we have and the volunteer organization we have set up, that's the path, right? And then of all people, I mean, we had that Todd Aiken guy that one time who stepped in it. I mean, this guy really seems like if anybody's going to step in it, he's really going to, I mean, I feel like he does it every day and he just does it so much that people don't even know. But yeah, the real plan of attack for us is the volunteer organization. So ways to get involved, certainly sign up. That's just a great way to get more dog photos anyway. 2 is if you can volunteer, please do. We're doing phone banks. We're doing text banks. You can tell your neighbors. That's a great thing to do, too. If you have, like, a group of folks that you don't know how they vote or they vote Republican and you don't want to, like, have a whole thing at your house, first, you can. But 2, if you don't want to, because it's a messy house like mine right now, do a Zoom. Put them online. We can hold, like, a little town hall. They asked her, I've done this with neighborhood groups before with a mix of folks, and they just want to know, what does the Attorney General do? And maybe some of them will never vote for me, but they'll learn something. And honestly, if they hear from me, they'll probably want to vote for me anyway. So, yeah.
I think you get his sign too. I think we gotta donate or something, but
Yep.
have one of the signs.
Yep. We got some signs. We got some signs too. Signs are nice. Yeah, but any of the volunteer stuff that you can do, we do have envelopes for donating as well. Those are very, very helpful. If you've got like a lot of rich friends who want to give away a bunch of money, please. Hey, but. Yeah, those are great. Another great group is if you do have some friends who do animal rescue stuff. You know, so kind of think about, like, somebody was saying they knew a guy who was really into catfish conservation in Missouri. Yeah, and so, or another guy he's part of a biker group, a motorcycle group. He's trying to get me a meeting with their statewide chapter. You know, so anything. Hey, we'll take whatever it is. We want to talk to folks, so.
Buy some leather.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, just a little bit. Well, whatever works, you know, but yeah. But yeah, anybody that you know, please spread the word. So, and then events like this are so very helpful. So thank you for hosting. Thank you. Thank you. It was a very good day for it. Yeah. Thank you all for taking the time. Yeah, tell your friends. What these folks don't want us to do is they don't want us talking to our friends. They don't want us talking to our neighbors, or if they want us to all be at each other's throats and really upset. And when we're divided, those folks who are in power get to stay in power, and we don't get to ask them the questions. So the bigger point behind all of this is to really rebuild that community here in Missouri. So that we can have civil conversations with. And I think Will was a really good example of that. I didn't agree with almost anything that the guy had to say, but you'll see sometimes on those videos, I'm talking about starting a public corruption unit and making sure that people's voices are in, and he's clapping in the back. And, it's like finding those places where we do agree on things. There's a lot more than we disagree on. And that's something that they don't want us to think about. Yeah. Right? Right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Thank you all. Thank you.